Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Rayceen Productions MC and producer. And we have a special guest joining us today, and I'll give them the opportunity to introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Carol Muleta. I am a parenting strategist and creator of the Parenting 411, a parenting platform where we deliver information parents need from sources they can trust. I am committed to delivering a fresh approach to discipline, parent-child communication, and family dynamics. Those are challenges that many parents struggle with. And I just want to remind them about the initial joy they felt when they knew that they would be parents, and that joy can continue with some skills and some tips so that they can really enjoy their children. And I am the mom of twin sons who are now young adults in college.
Amazing, amazing. Well, it is such a pleasure to have you here with us today, Carol. And, I want to start it off with, how did you get into this? Like, this is really, really intriguing, and I'm sure very helpful for many people, because parenting can be such a tough thing. No one is born a parent. Like when one becomes a parent, like that's the first time you're going to do it. So talk to me a little bit about how you got into this.
Well, honestly, I owe a lot to my twin sons, who are really my inspiration. The thing is, prior to having my sons, I had a thriving career in marketing, corporate marketing, and pretty much assumed I'd be heading back there shortly after they were born. And so, the first thing that happened was that I fell in love with them. And then about a year into it, we discovered that one of my sons had some developmental delays. And so once we really took a look at what that was going to entail, like what types of professionals or specialists that we might need to have him see, I just couldn't imagine someone else, like a nanny or a babysitter, driving them around that much. I was like, if he's got to do that, I need to be driving. And so I decided to walk away from my career. My husband and I talked about it. And so that really began a journey of me not only trying to find solutions for what he needed, but it just caused me to research and learn more about how children develop anyway, and how humans develop. And so I learned more about what children need from their parents along the way. And so I took parenting classes. They were twins, so I also wanted to make sure that I nurtured them as individuals. I had heard a lot of stories from twins that said that their parents treated them the same, like one person, and I didn't want to do that. And so those two concerns that I had converged and really piqued my interest in parent education. And after taking a few courses, the nonprofit group where I was taking those classes asked me to become a leader and learn to train to teach those courses. A few years out from that, I co-founded a company with another mom, parent education and consulting, and then everything just moved from there. And I have to tell you, when my sons were 2 years old, God actually told me I would be doing all of this. And I was like, you've got to be kidding. I barely know what I'm doing, but he told me that I would help other parents. He told me parents would pay to hear me speak. Couldn't believe that. And all of this is just unfolding bigger and better than what he initially described to me. But pretty much that's how I started this ministry, because I definitely consider parenting a ministry.
Amazing. Now, you touched on something that's actually really close to me, because, my brother has some developmental delays as well. And it was very tough for my parents. I remember growing up, and, it was very tough for my parents dealing with that. And we grew up in Jamaica as well. So there you don't have the immense wealth of, opportunities and services and support like you do here. And so, sometimes when we came to America to visit and stuff, we would have him, seek out help while he was here. But, his main place was back in Jamaica. And even now, he's also a young adult at this point, but it is still a challenge having those developmental delays. What advice would you give to parents, like that, with children like these? Like, what advice would you give, especially those who don't have the resources, I would say, that are readily available to them?
Okay. Well, for starters, particularly if you're discovering this and your children are young, and that's key. Really get to tune into your kids. Really, I mean, because that's how we were able to discover this. And I also feel there was a blessing to have a twin there,
Yeah.
because I don't generally compare them, but when they were young like that, that was what able was able to that's how I was able to determine that maybe we need to go and seek professional help. And so definitely tune into them beyond all the things that we do for them. Really get in touch with their nature and the kind of child and kind of personality and disposition that they have, so that you can notice any changes. And then if resources are a challenge, absolutely tap into what your state and local government has to offer. My pediatrician directed us there for starters, and then those are actually the people that we worked with initially, and then later, once we knew what we thought we had a lay of the land, then we sought our own professionals. But start there, because there are assessments that they will do free, and then many of them have a sliding scale, so that if you go on to need services, then you can get those services. Then next, read everything that you can. I mean, once you're given a diagnosis or some sort of understanding of what your child may be dealing with, then read as much as you can. And also, though, don't get hung up, because we wanted to know what we were dealing with, but I did not want to get hung up on those labels. As a matter of fact, I didn't even tell him what the diagnoses were when he was younger. I translated it into you need more help with this, like a task that he could relate to. We need to practice this. We need to practice tying your shoes. We need to practice the way you hold your fork, or whatever, but make it something that they can relate to. Because I was like, and even as he got into elementary school, I was like, if I tell him all the labels that he's been given, I mean, that's as heavy as his backpack, right? Except it's going to be heavy on his spirit and his mental well-being. So definitely do that, but also recognize what the gifts your child does have, because that was the thing as well. A lot of people, when their children are younger and they find that they have developmental delays or something else that doesn't fit what they were originally expecting, they focus on that. But I was like, oh no, I see so much. I saw that he was very focused. I saw that he was very attuned to people. I mean, he had a very strong EQ, And I said, I've got to work on the rest, help him work on the rest, so that he can leverage the strengths that he has. So definitely look to those strengths and find situations, create opportunities for him to use, or her to use, the strengths that they have.
Certainly. Thank you so much for that. Now, I want to ask, how does parenting change as, children transition from, childhood to adolescence, and especially now adolescence into young adulthood? How does parenting change in that way? And, how do the children and the parents have to adapt to these changes?
Well, when they are younger, we're definitely more hands-on managers, because they, as I like to say, they just got here. Like, there's a new world. They just got here, and we're the coaches. So, I talk about it. I try to get parents to think about it like this. Imagine moving to a new neighborhood. You don't know anybody, and you venture out, and you see a large crowd of people, and clearly everybody's focusing on what's going on in the center. It's some kind of game, but you don't know the rules, and everyone is just really engrossed in it. And then the next thing you know, someone looks up and says, time for a sub, and they point to you. That's how our children feel. They're like, whoa, I just got here and you expect me to know all of these things. And we have to remember that just because they see us doing things or they've seen people do things doesn't mean they can actually do it without some training and some guidance. Yeah. So absolutely, we are more hands-on. We're training them, teaching them how to actually do things like self-care and all of that. We're also training them how to conduct themselves in society, because they don't have that context. They just know what they want, and sometimes they're keen observers, but poor interpreters. So all they know is that A and B happened, that led to C, and I'm going to remember that. But they don't know context and all of that. So we're here for that. And then after being a manager, then we're, a coach. So we're stepping back a little bit more. Now they know the rules. They're given the opportunity to make choices, and they're given the room to deal with the consequences of those choices. And consequences are positive as well as not so positive. So we have to remember that. And then as they get older, you step back a little further because now they really know a little bit more about how to conduct their lives. And now you're a consultant. So I am a consultant now. So I get calls from my sons or texts from my sons where they may talk about a situation that they've encountered maybe in an internship or in college. And so we talk that way. I'm talking to them like, well, have you thought about this? Or I'm wondering if this is available to you. And in that way, not telling them what they must do, and certainly not making phone calls on their behalf to get things done. They're learning how to do it, but it's nice that they call and share this, because I can tell you during the late tween and teen years, they don't think their parents know anything. So, so it is quite nice to just be, I was out shopping the other day, picking something up, and my son called, what do you think about this? And so that's great. So I'm a consultant now.
Love that. Okay, talk to me a little bit about, when you get to that point, between parents and children, they start figuring out who they are, what they want to be, what they want their life to look like. And it might not necessarily be what the parent has envisioned for them. I know for many people, like, oh, they've gone into this career, but, you wanted them to be a doctor instead, and they're going to do that. Or, they might be a part of the LGBTQ community, and, you didn't want that, or stuff like that. How do parents and children reconcile this? And what advice do you give to parents, on how to, make it better and to keep that relationship between their children strong?
Absolutely. First of all, stop and take some inventory, and you've got to be introspective and really figure out, was this what I wanted or what she or he wanted? Like what's going on here? Because you really have to parent the child that you've been blessed with. Okay, I mean, this is, and I talk about this in my my new book, Mother's Work, that you can't look at what other families are doing or what other children, the relationship that other people have, because that's, you don't know. You're just watching a movie. You don't know how the actors have engaged, how the stage has been set. You don't know what they've done to get to that particular place. And you're also looking at a moment in time. You don't know what it was like yesterday, and you don't know what it's going to be like tomorrow. What's happening there is in the context of the relationship they've established. So you always have to honor a relationship and commitment to your own child. I feel like it's a covenant that you have with your child, that you're always going to honor them and help them to reach their full potential, whatever it's going to be. I mean, I'll start with an example with my one son that when we learned that he had the developmental delays, you know, some people looked at it as negative, that we wanted to go out and get help and seek help and all of that stuff. And like that, like we were giving up on him, like we had decided that he didn't have a strong potential. And I was like, no, it's just the opposite. And what I say, it's even in the book, I said, I don't know if he's going to be a lawyer or a landscaper, but what I see is that with his focus and attention to detail and his ability to connect with people, whatever it is, he's going to be the best there is. Like, people are going to be looking for him. And so in order for him to be able to live that out, live that purpose out, there are a few things we got to shore up so that he'll be able to deliver on his promise. So I feel that whatever it is with your child, my other son, he played basketball in a very competitive way for a long time. He made me love basketball. I learned to play basketball because of watching him. And then, and I envisioned, hey, he'll probably be playing in college or whatever, not regardless of whether there's a scholarship involved, but I thought I'd be watching him play basketball all the time. And then 11th grade, he was like, look, no, I love basketball, but not like this. It's taking too much away from my studies. It's just taking too much away from me being able to pursue anything else. It was like 6 days a week practices and games and all of that. No Christmas holidays because they were, in tournaments. And I was like, whoa, wait, don't be too hasty. What? You quitting basketball? But, that next year, oh my goodness, he had a really strong academic year. I mean, he was already a decent student. And that was what he felt that it was affecting him from really elevating and really cranking it up. And so sure enough, he did after that. And I mean, his college prospects were bananas for his academics after that. I mean, he had his choice, and, people, lots of options. People wanted to pay him to come and everything. And because he made that decision and didn't worry about, well, mama likes to watch me play basketball and all of that. And then also, too, there's kind of peer pressure. Like, people want to know, why aren't you on the basketball team? Did you get kicked off? You didn't make it? Whatever. Which, is also why I admire what even Simone Biles is doing to step off that treadmill, take care of her mental health, and not feel like, I was on track for so many gold medals for this Olympics. What are people going to think about me or whatever? She knows who she is.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so I would not be surprised if her upbringing had something to do with that.
Certainly. Now let's talk about your book, Mother's Work. What was it that inspired you to say, you know what, I've been doing this for a while now. I want to put down my thoughts, into words on the page and put it out there so people can have. Let's talk about the book. How was writing that for you?
Okay, well, can I share? Can I show you? Can I show it?
Oh, certainly.
So here's the book. It's called Mother's Work: Pearls of Wisdom and Gems from My Journey. And so what started it probably was that often when I worked with parents, they'd ask how I got started. I would always sprinkle in some anecdotes, to make points and to illustrate certain concepts to them, but they didn't really know my full story. And so when I would let out, share a few details here and there, and they were like, wow, that's really interesting. And so that was one thing. A lot of people just really wanted to know my story and beyond what I was trying to teach them about parenting. And so then another time I was a part of an organization, a mother's organization, and I was the chaplain. And so I would have to kick off the meetings with a reflection. And so I just started writing about things that sometimes it would be something that happened that day in the store, just observations that I made. And because it was a mother's organization, I would always bring it back home to motherhood and parenting. And so no one had really given me any guidelines about how this was supposed to be done. So I just did it the way I envisioned. So I started writing these reflections, and it really resonated with people. They were like, oh, you know what? You talked about staying connected with your mom. I'm going to call my mom after the meeting, or whatever, just different things. So it had a powerful impact on them. So I said, and they even said, you ought to write a book. And I couldn't believe I should write a book, but I did. And so it took some years to do it, because life happens and all of that. And then I wasn't sure that people would be interested. And then the pandemic happened, and I found myself home alone with no children, because they stayed where they were. They sheltered where they were during the pandemic. And then my husband was traveling a lot too. And so when they shut down, he was out there near them. So the three of them stayed together. And I was at home with my cute little golden doodle dog. And so I said, my goal is to write this book before they come home. And so that's how it happened. And then I was able to contribute to 3 other anthologies as well. So I've written 4 books in the course of this pandemic.
Amazing. That is amazing. I love it. Well, you know what? This has been, really, really amazing. How can people get your book? Where can they get your book? And how can they follow you and keep up with you and all the work that you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. So visit my website, carolmuleta.com. That's my name, carolmuleta.com/motherswork. Honestly, though, if you get to the website and you see the shop button, just hit shop and everything is there. And as far as following me, please look me up at The Parenting 411 on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
Thank you so much. This has been such a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for being here with us. To the viewers, all those links will be in the description below, so you can follow and keep up with Carol Muleta. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you. It was a fun experience.
Thank you so much. And to our viewers, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone. We thank our production sponsors, Whitman Walker Health, for their continued support of Team Rayceen Productions. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.